Game started as white. c5. Knight c6. Knight f6. e6. Bishop takes c5. Castles kingside. d5. E takes d5. Bishop g4. Bishop takes f3. Knight d4. Rook e8. Knight e4. D takes e4. f5. Knight takes e2 check. Bishop takes e3. Queen f6. Rook ac8. b6. Queen e6. B takes a5. Queen b3. Queen c4. White wins on time. Game started as white. d5. Bishop f5. e6. a6. Bishop takes d3. h6. Knight f6. c5. c4. Bishop e7. Castles kingside. b5. b4. c3. a5. Knight bd7. A takes b4. Queen takes a8. Knight takes e5. Knight e4. Knight takes f2. Queen a2. Bishop g5. Bishop takes e7. Queen takes c2. Black wins by resignation. Game started as white. d5. e6. c5. Bishop d7. Knight c6. Knight f6. Queen c7. Knight e4. c4. D takes e4. h6. Castles queenside. f5. g5. g4. h5. Knight e7. Knight d5. b6. Bishop e7. Knight takes b6. h4. g3. Bishop e8. Bishop h5. Queen b7. Rook d5. Knight takes c4. King b8. Rook b5. Queen takes h1 check. Bishop b4. King c7. King d8. King e8. King g6. King f7. King h6. King takes g7. King h7. Bishop f7. King h6. King h5. Black wins on time. e4. d3. Game started as black. Knight c3. Bishop b2. c4. b3. Knight f3. g3. Bishop g2. Knight takes d4. Castles kingside. Knight d5. Rook c1. Bishop a3. Bishop b2. Bishop a3. Rook c2. C takes b5. Your opponent is disconnected. Black wins by game abandoned. Game started as black. d4. e3. Queen takes d4. Queen d1. Bishop b5. Knight f3. Bishop takes c6. King takes f2. Rook e1 check. Rook takes e6 check. Queen takes d8 check. Bishop g5. Bishop takes f6. Knight c3. Knight e4. Knight e5 check. Knight c5. King g3. Knight takes e6 check. Knight takes c7. Knight f3. Knight a6. King h3. Rook e1 check. Knight c5. Knight d3. Knight f4. Knight takes g5. Knight e6 check. Knight d8. Knight takes c6. Knight b4. Knight d3. Knight takes b2. King g2. Rook b1. Black wins on time. Game started as white. b6. Bishop b7. e6. c5. Bishop e7. d5. Bishop e7. Knight f6. Bishop takes c5. Castles kingside. Knight fd7. Knight c5. g6. Knight bd7. Knight takes d3. d4. Knight takes e5. Queen takes d4 check. Bishop c5. Queen takes h4. Bishop takes e3. Black wins by checkmate. Game started as black. e4. d3. Knight c3. C takes d3. Knight ge2. Knight g3. Bishop e2. Knight h5. Bishop takes h5. Bishop g4. Queen takes g4. Castles kingside. Knight d5. Knight e3. Knight f5. Knight e3. Rook d1. Queen d7 check. Knight d5. Queen takes c7. Queen c8 check. Bishop g5 check. Bishop takes f6 check. Queen c7. Rook takes d1. Rook d6 check. h3. King h2. Rook f6. Queen takes b7. Queen takes c6. Black wins on time.